Hello, growers. Say goodbye to heavy sandbags and hello to Modern Growers Quick Hoops Low Tunnels. Protect your plants from pests, wind, rain, and frost without the hassle of sandbags or flimsy hoops. Our patented design eliminates the need for clamps and ropes, while the unique wire system keeps covers secure yet easily accessible. Tested in the strong winds of New Zealand for over 20 years, Quick Hoops are light, strong, portable, and versatile. Most importantly, they're designed for field use. These aren't some lightweight system that only looks great in a greenhouse. Our hoops are designed to last in harsh field conditions. Use them with any covering to grow year-round and safeguard your crops. Shade cloth, frost blanket, insect net, clear poly, no problem. Quick Hoops can handle them. Get Quick Hoops today at shop.moderngrower.co and protect your crops for years to come. I know you started your career with microgreens growing one crop. You went to market with one crop. For somebody new starting out or somebody who's trying to really clean up an operation or get it back on track or get it on the right track, how do you advise people to say, how many crops do you take on to start with? You know, I'm somebody, when I look at this from the outside, I think, okay, if I'm going to grow one crop, sunflower, I can spend all my time growing sunflower, analyzing the nuances of it, getting it perfect. And then once I have that figured out, I add on a new one. And we've done an episode on this in the past, where if you're starting with 10, now you got to pay attention to 10 different crops and know all the little intricacies of them. Obviously, if you start with one, you can only sell one, and that's a tougher go. If you have 10, maybe that's better for your market. Given your experience growing a whole bunch of microgreens, trying a whole bunch of different crops, for people that are having issues or starting out, do you just limit that to a few crops to start?
I think so. I think we have a tendency to take on too much. I could just be speaking for myself there, but I see it a lot. We want to start at the end point. And I keep talking about it's important to build up to the point where you sell 10 crops or 15 crops. You don't start there. You don't start with super duper water catchment systems and solar panels on the roof and geothermal heat. You get there. And so same thing with choosing crops. I think the reason I got away with growing, so the first year I grew sunflower, I was also growing vegetables. And so I could grow sunflower as a way of adding another product. It was simply another product I brought to market. And so there wasn't a lot resting on that. But the second year I started growing them just as a microgreen on itself, that I went to market with one product. There was a bit of risk in that, but there was a couple of things that I took into consideration, and I've talked about this before, is that it's more than, in that case, it was more than just the product, it was the whole package that I offered. And so it was a unique product that nobody was carrying at the market. It was grown in an urban environment. It was grown organically. The quality was unsurpassed. It was very good quality. I brought it to market by bicycle. So people were intrigued with the package. And in my initial year of doing that, I would sell $500 in one single product or more at a farmer's market. I couldn't go to that same farmer's market now, 10 years later or 9 years later, and do that. Many people have microgreens here and there as add-ons at different points in the year. There's a lot of good quality products there, so you couldn't do that. So you need to know what your market is and what your market can bear. And if you've got a fairly good market that has a good weekly crowd and there's nobody selling any of those products there, you could probably start with one. Or if you want to add a product to a product line you've already got, you can start with one. So that's going to depend on your situation. The other advantage of starting with one is you're not throwing yourself in over your head. You're not buying 3 different types of seed, marketing 3 different types of crops, which you may market very differently to very different audiences, whether that's CSAs, chefs, farmers markets, different types of chefs at different types of restaurants. There's different approaches there. So it takes some of that pressure off. And if you're just doing one crop, chances are you're not doing it full time. You've got some flexibility, and so it's something you can play with while you're living the rest of your life and doing these other things, maybe exploring them at the same time, or already researching your second crop in another way. So you need to really know, again, what your market is, what your situation is, what your capacity is in order to do that. In some cases, you've got an operating farm, you've actually got the infrastructure, there's a team of you add a crop, and then 3 weeks later you add another crop, and you can add your crops quickly. And so you're still doing one crop at a time, but you're actually adding them in very quick order.
So know yourself, know your market, and I think a lot of people will grow into this stuff, no pun intended. Like, you get better at handling the variability and adapting the more you do it. At least that's my take on things.
It actually happens against your will. You learn when you're in a learning situation whether you want to or not. And I think that's, not to wax philosophical again, but I think it's why you get in certain workplaces, there's certain training you have to do. If you go into a workplace and you have to do cultural sensitivity training, you have no choice but to learn that. And even if you're resistant to it, you now have these new ideas, these new values that are implemented into your knowing of the world. And so whether you like it or not, that learning is going to cause you to change. And the same thing happens with learning to play an instrument or learning to grow a crop. That change takes place. So that learning process is very important of becoming an expert, basically.
Farm Small, Farm Smart Daily is part of the Modern Grower Podcast Network. Check out some of our other shows like Carrot Cash Flow, the Growing Microgreens Podcast, and Farm Small, Farm Smart. Learn more about the shows using the link below.